Once upon a time, a girl named Aziza used to work in a restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. Okay, no, scratch that.
Okay, here's my intro. Let me just erase that right there and go simple. My name. No, I don't like that. Aziza
Hey, what's good, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on this special video. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Aziza Kibibi. I am a published author, a mom, a chef, a survivor, a media personality, an entrepreneur, many things. I wear many hats. Today, I have my hair out natural. No protective hairstyles today. As usual, I have to apologize ahead of time because I know my neighbors upstairs are going to have a field day, or they've already started having a field day with the noise. So I do hope that it's not too much of a distraction, because this video is a story time video. We are in the spooky season of 2021, and I have plenty of stories in my life. Some very gruesome, some very scary, some spooky. This one I'm going to share, as you saw in the thumbnail, the title. That time I was almost kidnapped by a taxi driver. Now, this story, very scary. It was terrifying. So, you know, I'm a huge horror movie fan, but I like science fiction movies. I like ghost stories. I like films that are, you know, out of this world when it comes to horror. I feel like those horror movies where it's about people who are like murderers and it's like suspenseful and thriller, they're just too close to real life for me. I can enjoy some of them, like Seven. I watched Seven, I really couldn't get through it. And Don't Turn Out the Lights, that was really scary. But I don't know, it's not, oh my gosh. But it's not spooky. It's not about a ghost. You know, so there are two different types of horrors. My story is the real life type of horror. The type of story that has a moral at the end, that teaches you a lesson. So I'll just get right into it. Well, actually, first, hit that subscribe button if you are not already subscribed. If you are, hey y'all, hey my subscribers, thank you for sticking with me throughout this journey, this YouTube journey, this what has turned out to be a serious part of my life's journey, because even now, like, my kids are starting to complain how, like, mommy, you always have the camera, but it is what it is. So thank you. Okay, now let's get into it. Let me see if I can get through this before they get crazy upstairs. Not so long ago, for all of you that don't know, I escaped my father. He was a dictator, he was an abuser, he was just a very evil bad man. If you want to learn more about my story, please make sure you click one of the cards. That's a long story in itself, and I'm trying to keep this regular everyday life because I think this could happen to anyone. Okay, let's get back to it. Escaped my father. I was working at a restaurant in Manhattan, and I was working there as both a hostess and a server and an expediter. So I had different jobs there on different days. It was in Manhattan. I lived in New Jersey. And this restaurant was like really cool, really trendy. The MTV Music Awards had their after party there. Celebrities came in. I met Busta Rhymes. Like, it was just a really cool and fun restaurant. I knew the owners. We would have fun. And because I enjoyed being at work, I spent a lot of time at work. Definitely took all the shifts, but I mean, even then, I was supporting not only my children who were in foster care, but I was also supporting my mom and my sisters. So I was just working as many hours as I possibly could. Now, the issue with working a lot of hours in New York, especially in the hospitality industry, and living in New Jersey is the transportation. So at this time, my apartment in New Jersey was right up the street from the train that I would take to work. So this was my route. Up the street from where I lived, I would get on New Jersey Transit and take a train into Penn Station, New York. From Penn Station, New York, I would get on the C or the E to go to Midtown Manhattan and then walk to work. It wasn't that far. So it was fine. I was in a routine. I'd get up in the morning, get on the train, make my stops. At one point, I actually would have to leave East Orange, take the subway to Brooklyn to drop my daughter off with my sisters, and then take the train back to Midtown Manhattan to work. So yeah, sometimes it got pretty grueling, but you know, it was what it was. I was working, I was free. That's what it was. I was happy that I was just free. My destiny was in my control. I didn't have this evil dictator telling me what to do, where I could go, but one thing, he was still out. My father was still out. He was not in jail yet, so he was kind of looming. There was always just that fear of, was he gonna show up while I was trying to get into the house? Or, you know, was I going to run into him in Manhattan or in New York or in Brooklyn or in New Jersey? Like, there was just this looming that he was out there looking for me. But that's a different scary story. Back to this story. Worked in Manhattan, take the ride. Now, this is the problem. At a certain time at night, the trains back to New Jersey stopped running. My managers knew this. They knew that I always had to leave work. I often work doubles, but I had to leave work by 12 a.m. because I needed to make it to Penn Station, New York in time to get on the 1:15 a.m. train back to New Jersey. But like fancy French restaurants do, they tend to not kick their customers out. Well, back then, they didn't kick their customers out. So I had to stay until essentially the place closed because we still had customers. One night, I did not get out of work until 1:30 a.m. Gosh, I missed the train and I decided to take a cab. It was gonna be like $60 or something. Go outside. Had to wait for a good maybe 20 minutes. So now by this time, it's like 1:40, almost 2 o'clock. Hail a cab. By that time, I had pretty much mastered being a New Yorker. I spent most of my time in New York, so hailing cabs, being used to the drivers. Even though I still had some anxiety around men, I had found a place of calm. And I never really took long trips with cab drivers. It was literally like most of the time if I was running late, I'd just hail a cab at Penn Station and it would just take me uptown. Get into the cab, ask how much it was going to be back to New Jersey. He said $70. I was like, oh shit, I only have 60. So I asked him, I was like, you know, I don't live far from Holland Tunnel. Can you please just take me for $60? Dude agreed. Call my sister, let her know that I had to catch a cab, but I was on my way home. Settled into the taxi. Settled in too much into the taxi because traffic was nice and open. So being able to just drive, dude was getting all the lights, everything was great. You know, the car was rocking. It was kind of like a fall time, like this, like in October, and the wind was blowing on my face. I was exhausted. I dozed off. Now, initially, I did try to fight it. I did try to fight it because, I don't know, somebody just told me, you know, stay up. Stay up. That's all. It was not a full thought process, but I was just like, I tried to fight falling asleep. Apparently the sleep won. I lost that battle. It must have been good sleep too, because I felt like I blinked. And what woke me up was the car stopping. My brain said, hey, car stopped, you're home. But when I opened my eyes, I looked around, I was in a parking lot of other vehicles. Okay, where the hell am I? So I sit up and I'm looking around and I'm like, what the crap? Where am I? I'm not home. And I looked and I'm like, where's the driver? Y'all, once I shake off like being asleep, you know when you first wake up, things are like groggy, your mind is trying to make sense of what's going on, you know, especially if you are asleep in a car and when you close your eyes you was in one place and then now you're in another place where it's like a completely different environment. It took a minute for my mind to really register, but eventually I was able to see lights and signs to a building, and it was a hotel. What the? It was a whole freaking tell. I didn't know what to do. My phone was dead. I was like, oh shit, where the hell did this dude take me? Maybe he went in to get something, maybe, like, I don't know. For some reason, my mind was trying to make sense of the situation because I just didn't understand how this complete stranger brought me somewhere. I was paying him to go one place and he brought me to another place. For some reason, I felt that we were in New Jersey. I didn't have proof that we were in New Jersey, but I was pretty sure we was in New Jersey just because, I don't know, the atmosphere or the way, we was not in the city. Let's just say that. I knew we were in New Jersey. So I'm looking around in the parking lot. Thank God my car door was open or child safety lock wasn't on, or I was able to get out of the taxi. Saw a police car. Police car had Newark written on the side. Okay, good. My heart stopped racing a little bit because I'm like, okay, well, there's a police car in Newark. Go up to the police car, nobody in it. Looking around constantly for the taxi driver, nothing. Go into the hotel. Yo, turns out dude was over at the concierge looking like he was about to get a room. I was able to sneak behind this like wall area. So the door that I went into was to the side of the concierge. So when you walked into the hotel or motel or whatever it was, when you walked into the establishment, it wasn't like you just walked up to the desk. The desk was kind of like on the side. So when I came in, the people at the desk couldn't see me. And he was kind of had his back turned to the doorway anyway. But I recognized that it was him. It was like, I don't know, he was Middle Eastern. I don't know if he was Indian, Pakistani, but I knew that this was the driver. Luckily, just coming out from another door at the wall that I was hiding behind was the police officer. So I found him and I said to him, I was like, excuse me, sir. And he was like, you know, hey, is everything okay? And I told him, I says, I took a taxi here. I wasn't supposed to come here. I took a taxi from New York and the taxi driver was supposed to bring me home. But I fell asleep and I woke up and I was here instead. The police officer was like, ma'am, are you sure? I'm like, what the hell do you mean? Am I sure? He asked me, was I drinking? He asked me, was I on drugs? He asked me, was a taxi driver my boyfriend? Now, this is the issue that I had. I told this police officer what the situation was. Why would it be anything else other than what I told him? Right? And people want to say, people don't want to believe that black women are the least protected in society. But anyway, now that I'm thinking about that, I'm getting pissed. The police officer goes through like these questions. Now at the same time, for some reason, and look, this is the thing about growth and learning. Back then, yo, there was some just rationale that me now was thinking, what was I thinking back then? Because, and I can tell you, my rationale was for the taxi driver to not see me talking to the police officer. And I can tell you that that was something that stemmed from my experience with my father with trying to kind of talk to people outside of his knowledge, being afraid of getting caught. So when I look back on that situation, how I was speaking to the police officer, it was kind of like, because I felt that the person who had wronged me, which was the taxi driver, I couldn't be caught by him, telling on him, because then it would just make matters worse. That's what my rationale was. When really, technically, I had the power. I was not around him who was the threat. I was not around the driver who was the threat, but I still was concerned that if he found out, it could get worse. Anyway, it's just something, realization, growth, you know, evolution. Finally convinced the police officer, no, dude, I asked this driver to take me to this address and he ends up here. He brought me here to this hotel. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. You know, he asked me, police officer asked me, did you pay him? What? Oh my gosh. Did I pay him? That's what you're concerned about? I says, officer, please, please. I don't think he has good intentions because I did not agree to come here. What can you do? Please, can you do something? Finally, I guess after believing me enough, the police officer says, well, do you want me to take you home? Where do you live? And I gave him my address and he took me home. No, he did not write a report. I didn't know anything about that at the time. So I didn't know what my rights was. I didn't know to what capacity a police officer was supposed to help me, because of course, in my experience, so many times, anytime I've had run-ins or people in my family have reached out to police officers, they did not do anything. So in this respect, I did not have a whole lot of expectations other than the fact that this is a person of authority and maybe he could help me out of my situation. It was very scary. It was dark. It was in the middle of the night. So the moral of the story, ladies, don't fall asleep in the taxi cab. Like, just don't fall asleep in the ride share. If you don't know the person, if this is not a friend or family member and they're driving you somewhere, just don't fall asleep. Don't fall asleep, because there's some crazy people out there with all kinds of crazy intentions. I don't know whatever happened to this person. The police officer, like I said, did not make a report, did not approach him or do anything. He just took me home. And that was it. Yeah, know your rights. Know what police officers are supposed to do. I was smart enough to get the police officer's badge number and name. I think by then that was maybe a little paranoia, because it's like, well, the taxi driver just brought me somewhere that I was not supposed to be going. I don't know what the police officer's going to do, so I got his name and badge. Thank God I was able to slip that one. Who knows what could have happened? I actually wrote a short film about it. Maybe I'll share it one day. Anyway, on that note, thank you for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe if you like this video, share it, talk about it. You have any crazy stories? Put them in the comments. On that note, I'm Aziza Kibibi. Be blessed, for you are a blessing. Bye.